Welcome to Interactive Formative Assessments with Google Forms. I'm Rashmi Pimprakar. I am the District Pre-K-12 Digital Learning, Library and Computer Science Coordinator for Watertown Public Schools. I also direct a nonprofit called C-STEAM Futures, and I work as Program Director for CS and STEAM at Lesley University. So for today's webinar, we are going to talk about why use online assessments, why are Google Forms a good tool for it, the different types of assessment questions that we can use, how to create a quiz, administer a quiz, auto-grade a quiz, provide feedback as students are taking the quiz, and of course some assistive technology features. The hope is to also go a little bit advanced with, say, 10 advanced features for using Google Forms for assessment, which will include adding math and science expressions, possibly adding reading passages to quiz, password protecting the quiz, adding questions with one or more possible right answers, then including ranges of acceptable answers, particularly for math problems. And then we'll sort of look into how to force case-sensitive answers, turning off the quiz at a certain date and time, providing helpful feedbacks for questions, as well as individualized feedback for students. So these are some of the advanced tips that we hope to cover either through this webinar or through the advanced one, which will be hosted very soon. So why use Google Form for online assessments? There is a link to the Google Forms 101, which is just a basic introduction to Google Forms. So if you click on this link here, you will be able to go to that presentation as well. So why Google Forms? They're free, they're easy to use, they work on all devices like Chromebooks, computers, Macs, PCs. There are 9 types of assessments, and there is a beautiful article in here about formative assessments. I'm going to quickly click on the 9 types of examples. So these are, there is a paragraph, there is a text type of example, multiple choice, check boxes, choose from a list type of example. There's also scale type of an example from low to high. Or you can create a grid, which looks like this. There's also a date type and a time type. So these are the 9 types of questions that you can create within the Google form. And this is an article that's linked over here, which talks about the best value of formative assessment and how it really helps in conducting assessments and meaningful assessments, which which sort of feed back into our teaching and learning practices. The idea with Google Forms is, again, frequent feedback and analysis allows us for more formative assessment opportunities. It allows us to integrate multimedia into our forms. It can be anonymous, or we can collect data. It prepares for online standardized testing experience. Of course, text-to-speech assistive technology can be used, and Google Forms inherently are very collaborative. So you can share these forms with your colleagues, and then you can collaborate on creating different types of quizzes, or sort of even create your own adventure story using Google Forms. So there are some ways, and we're going to go live in a minute with Google Forms, in which we are going to create different types of questions, and we are going to create a quiz using Google Form. So to access Google Forms, we go to our drive, and there are 2 ways in which you can access Google Forms. You can go to the waffle icon, which is right here, and it gives you all the Google apps you have, and you will have your Google Forms in there. Or you can go to Create, New, and then in here, if you click on More, you will get Google Forms. So I'm going to create one which is an untitled form, and I'm going to call it Sample Quiz Dash Webinar. So I can save this, and it's going to, yep. So it's saving the title right here, and this is the title of my quiz. I can also describe the form right in here for my students. Now, let's look at a few of the settings which are right in here. So you go to the right hand corner and you have a gear right in here, and you can go into the settings. So there are three tabs. First is your general, and if you click on collect email addresses, it's going to collect the email addresses of the participants who take or respond to the Google form. In this case, restrict users to Watertown Public Schools and its trusted organization. You can choose that option or not, depending on your choice. You can also limit it to one response, which means a person can take this quiz or this form only once. Now, edit after submit. So if you want your respondents to edit after submit, you can click on this option. And you can also see the summary of chart and text responses. So if you want your respondents to be able to see that, you can click on this option. For now, I'm not going to click on that. And I'm going to talk about the presentation option in a short while. But let's go to the one which is the latest addition to Google Form, which is the quizzes. Since we are making a quiz, we are going to click on Make the Quiz option, and then it allows us to activate the quiz mode. Which is essentially, it will give us an answer key capabilities within our form. So this is another option, turn on the lock mode. And you can also allow release grade immediately after each submission or later after form manual review. So you can choose either of those options. For now, I'm going to click on save, and then we are going to try to create 8 questions of specifically different types, which are embedded within Google Forms. So when I say add question, there are multiple questions that I can create within here, and we're going to talk about some of those questions. So let's look at, there is also an important aspect. So first we are going to look at multiple choice questions, and let's say our first question, if you're not collecting the email addresses, you can look at the valid email address, or you can refuse to collect that. But in his case, we are going to say, first question, I'm going to create a math quiz. So I'm going to say an angle with a measurable, with a measure between 0 and 90 degrees is called what? And I can create options such as acute angle. I can create another option called obtuse angle, right angle, and straight angle. So that's my question types. And if you notice, there is also an option of answer key right down below here, and it says 0 points for now. But this option becomes available to us only if you click on the quiz option. If you don't enable your quiz option, then this option is not available to you. So once we do that, we are going to go into make sure our question is okay, and then we're going to click on the answer key, and this allows you to assign points. So let's say we're going to assign 1 point to this, and it allows you to give the right answer. So an angle with a measure between 0 to 90 degrees is called what? It's called an acute angle, so that's the right answer. And for every question in your quiz, you can also provide answer feedback. So in this case, there is an incorrect answer feedback or a correct answer feedback. And for incorrect answer feedback, you could provide something like, you could provide a hint, say a video or a website, which allows them to review the different angles, to review the different angles. Let's put it this way. Please watch the following video. So you could actually link a video right here or from here, and that which would take them directly to that, and it's a supportive sort of feedback, and they can look at the video and then go back to the question. And for correct answer, great job, and you could do that, and that's your response. So you've added that feedback to the correct answer, and um, this is what you've done here, and then you say done, and your question is ready to go. So that's our first question. And just remember that in Google Forms, the quizzes can be auto-graded for only 4 types of questions. And those questions are, you can auto-grade it for multiple choice, can auto-grade it for check boxes, and you can also auto-grade it for a drop-down menu, and you can also auto-grade it for an short answer questions, but not really for a paragraph question, because or linear scale or multiple choice grid or checkbox grid, because those are not auto-gradable. But you can always go back to the form responses and you will be able to grade the quiz accordingly. So in this case, this is auto-gradable, so we got that. Now we're going to create another question. So let's go in here. And before I forget, because this is a quiz, I want to make this question required. So I'm going to click on the required option. And also, remember when there are 3 dots, it always gives you an option to shuffle for additional options. So in this case, you can add a description. You can go to a section based on answer, or you can add a shuffle option order. So in this case, it would shuffle the answer options. So I'm going to click that. And in here, this is also something which provides you for more options, as we've seen, and it would allow you to add collaborators and change some of the preferences right in here. One of the preferences that you can always change at any point of time is you can make all questions required, which might be the case in the quizzes. So if you choose that option, all the questions you create will be required, and you will have to toggle it back to make it not required. In this case, you can also state to collect email addresses, so we can do that at any point of time. And you can also assign a default point value of 0 if you want, or you can change that value to 1. So let's click on that, and we've saved our default options. Now let's look at the second question. For that, we are going to go to a question which would be about, let's say, which of the following are quadrilaterals? So I'm going to say, which of the following are quadrilaterals? Okay, so in this case, I want to have a checkbox option. So I'm going to choose from a square, a rhombus, a hexagon, and let's say a triangle. Now we know that there are 2 correct answers to this, and in this case the student will have to choose a square and a rhombus in order to get the right answer. So in this case, we're going to go to the answer key, and we are going to assign this 2 points. Let's say that, and these 2 are the correct answer. I'm not going to add answer feedback. Again, an incorrect and a correct answer feedback can be added, and I'm going to click on done. Now in this case, what happens is, unless a student chooses both of these on their form, they will not get the point value of 2. They will get a point value of 0, because Google Form recognizes both being checked off as the correct answer, not one or the other. So if the student checks off rhombus, you might have to go back in and give them 1 point if that is what you choose, and you can do that manually. Again, we are going to make this required. Now, let's add another question. So we are going to go and we are going to add, let's say, what do you call a 5-sided polygon? Okay, now this is going to be a short answer type. In this case, I am going to have an answer key, which will allow me to say, what do you call? So you can say pentagon. And remember that Google Form can be case sensitive. So I can add as many or multiple um, correct answers in this, which is essentially anticipation of what students could type. So they could type pentagon, which with a P capital, or they could type a pentagon. And so on and so forth. So you can also choose to mark all the other answers incorrect, and by doing that, you will also make sure that they get the 0 point or the 1 point if any other answer other than these is chosen. And you can always go back and add your feedback, and that would be a response that you can add. So that's done. Now I'm going to go to, give me a quick second. I'm going to, let's say, especially in these kinds of short answer questions, you might want to think about, say, if they called, if the question was about what is the highest mountain in the world, and if students are to answer Mount Everest, they might say Mount Everest. They'll spell it out completely, or they might write it as MT dot and then Everest. So you want to make sure all of those answers are included in here. A similar question could be about how many presidents, name the presidents who came from Ohio or from Quincy, Massachusetts. And for Ohio, you might have upwards of 7 president names. So you might want to include all of those 7 in your short answer text here in the answer key, so that even if the students go in for one of those, you will be they will get the points, which is essentially answering the question. Okay, so marking all other answers incorrect um, essentially allows you to, provide them with the point scale, and then you can always go back in and edit. We also want to make sure sometimes when students are answering a question, they leave a trailing space at the back. So if they type in pentagon and accidentally type in a space at the end, Google Forms is smart enough to recognize that, and they don't take trailing space as an extra character, so they will still be able to mark the answer correct, and will give them the full point when you're auto grading it. Okay, so we are now going to go on question number 4, which is, let's say we are going to add an image within the form. So let's create a question which would allow us to, or which would need us to add a an image within our form or within our question. So what type of, say, triangle is shown in the diagram below? So that's a question. And now, many times you've seen this add image option, and this image, this would allow you to add an image, but it would add an image at the bottom of your question. So when you use an option called the shuffle question option, or if you want to shuffle all the questions, the image sort of gets left behind and is really not embedded within the question. So in order to embed that image within your question, you want to go hover on top of your question, and you'll see an image option, which is sort of the mountain peaks option. And you can go in here and you can click on, let's say, I want to go into the Google image search, and I want to find an obtuse angle. Obtuse, oh, sorry, right triangle. Let's do that. So I can choose an option in here. So let's say I want to choose this, and I can insert that, and you'll see that that option is inserted within here, and I can put my options as right triangle, isosceles triangle. I hope I spelled that correctly. and say equilateral triangle, right? So we got our image. The students will look at the image and then they will choose one of the options. We want to go back into our answer key and we want to choose the right triangle to be our right choice. And we also want to assign a point value. So let's say 1 point. Now that we have inserted a diagram, we want to create a question type where the answer in itself is a diagram. So to do that, let's create a question. So answers would be images. So the question say which angle below is an obtuse angle. Okay, so now we want to have an option where we have to add a few pictures. So let's go on option 1 and we're going to add a picture of, say, I'm going to Google image search and I'm going to say right angle, and I can add an image of a right angle, or I'm going to insert that. Then I'm going to add an option and then I'm going to add an image of obtuse angle. And let's say I choose that and I insert it. And then we have, I would choose one image that would be a little bit more prominent, but for now we are just choosing images, and I'm going into Google image search and I'm typing acute angle, and it's going to give me a search without the name, so I'm going to choose that. I'm going to insert it. So these are the options, and I can go into the answer key and I can choose the one that I want, which would be the obtuse angle, and I've done it. And you can always provide again the feedback that you want for your questions and for correct and incorrect answers. It's always a good idea to make sure your images are copyright free, and especially within the Google setup, if you're choosing the images, they are marked for, they're labeled for non-commercial usage, and so you are with modifications, so you are all set with that option. So now we are going to try another question which will embed a video. So let's say if we create a question which is in the video below, since we are doing a math quiz, we are going to say what is the shape of the street sign? And in this case, we will be able to go to the video tab, which is right here, and we are going to assign, let's say, stop sign video, and if we pick on one of the, let's say, yeah, this one, select, and this would run a video, and you can title the video stop sign, and that option will be provided within this, within your form. So we have created an option with the video. Students will be able to view the video, and then they are able to answer the question, which will be a short answer, and they will let's go to the answer key, and we're going to assign it 1 point. And in the video, what type is the street sign? So again, you can point out hexagon, or is it an octagon? And then you can put a lowercase octagon, so on and so forth, and you can mark all other answers incorrect, and then you can see done. Now in this case, as you can see, the video is embedded at the bottom of the form. So when you actually click on the shuffle all questions options, it's going to place the video in a different place and the question in a different place, which is why Google Forms will have an enhanced version soon enough where we'll be able to embed video right within the question, but it's not still the option for us yet. Now we are going to create question number 7, and let's say I'm going to move this here because we want to correlate it to this. And then we are going to create a question which will be explain in your words how to find the perimeter of rectangle. So this is going to be a paragraph question, which is, remember, a paragraph question cannot be auto-graded. So we are going to explain in your words how to find the perimeter of rectangle. Okay, and I'm going to put a paragraph option in here. That's a long option, and then I'm going to assign 2 points to that, and you can always provide the answer feedback to this. Since this cannot be auto-graded, we are going to go back into the form and then grade it manually, which is how these would be done. So that's essentially question type 7. And then one of the favorite ones is maybe, can I assign a bonus question? So yes, absolutely you can. So we are going to assign a bonus question, which is essentially an extra credit question. And I'm going to keep it very simple, but how many degrees are there in a triangle? So that would be option 1 would be I want to make this a short answer question, and in my answer key I am going to add 180 degrees, or I can add 180 degrees, or sometimes they even write 180. And you can always go back and you're going to assign 0 points to this because this is a bonus question. And you can always go back to it and you can add, depending on the answers they choose, you can go back and assign points to them. So this is a very basic quiz that we've created, which is our sample quiz webinar or sample math quiz. Sample math quiz for the webinar. And there are some palette decisions that you can make. So if you go up to the palette and you can customize your theme, so you can choose an option, you can choose a theme color, you can choose a background color, you can also choose some of the font styles. So between basic, decorative, so if you do that, it will change to the decorative style, it will change it to the formal style or playful style. I've seen teachers use quite a bit of this playful style, so I'm going to stick to that. And then you can always choose an image. So you could choose a really bright yellow or illustrations. You can choose something like that. One of the reasons why teachers like to choose, or educators like to choose a particular image, so that especially when they give the quiz, you can, with a glance at all the computers, you can see whether the kids are on the quiz or they're browsing elsewhere, and it just serves as a quick check-in point. So that's why you might want to use one of these features. Now, it's very important that as we use this option, you can always go to, how do we send this to the kids? So you can go to the send option and you can collect emails. So you can mail it and you can put all their email addresses here. You can always add collaborators down here. Or you can click on this link option. You can shorten the URL and you can send this in an email, just this URL, by copying it. Now, this one here is an embed option, and this allows you to set up your frame. So you can increase the width and the height of your frame and how it will appear. And you can do that. The embed option works great on Google Sites or even in Google Classrooms. So we are going to copy, you just have to copy the option and you can send the link to your students or to your collaborators. Um, the other option is if you click on that I view, it allows you to see your form and you can respond to it. But that basically gives you the link to your form as well, which is right in here. It doesn't truncate it or make it smaller. That option is always available to you in here. But the I or the preview is a great way of checking your form. Now, once we're done with this, you can also go to your, remember the presentation tab. And in this case, you can show the progress bar. So it will show the progress bar to people who are taking the form or the quiz. And you can always shuffle the order of the questions. Now, remember, in our case, we have that video which was attached to a particular question, and videos are always attached at the bottom. So if we click on this option, the video will go in a different place as opposed to the question. And that is why embedded images is always a good option to go with. So for now, I'm not going to click on this, but you can always do that. And this will allow you to have multiple students taking the questions, taking the quiz, sitting side by side, and really not answering the same questions. So that really helps. So after we are done with this, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take, let's say I can put in my email address. I'm going to say 90 degrees. So it's between 0 and 90 degrees. So it's going to be an acute angle. Which of the followings are the quadrilaterals? I'm going this way. Tells you what is the point structure for that question, which is always helpful. And what do you call a five-sided polygon? So I'm going to say pentagon. What type? So right triangle. And in this case, which one is the obtuse angle? And I can watch this video and I can answer this. And it is hexagon. Oh, sorry, octagon. And explain in your words how to find the perimeter of the rectangle. So in this case, I just have to you add the lengths of all sides, and that would be the perimeter of the rectangle. And how many degrees are there in a triangle? So I know it's 180, and I can submit. So it shows me, and I can view my score right here, which will allow me to see that I got 6 out of 8 answers, and I can see what my which one of my response is not correct. So because I did not put in, I can go in here. The reason it gave it to me, it gave it wrong because it's an open ended question, and I have to answer that and go back into the responses that I've received right here into my sample questions, and I'll have to go in and manually input the points that I have for that child or for that student. So that's a quick review of different um, questions, the 9 questions, and how to send the link to your students and how to collect the results in a spreadsheet. We've also added images to the quiz. I know we are short on time, so I'm going to quickly. There will be an advanced version of this webinar which will address the questions that we looked at before, the 10 advanced options for Google Forms. But this is essentially the way in which you can go into advanced settings and you can password protect your quiz. The other option that we will talk about in the advanced webinar would be to how to auto turn off your quiz, how to add math expressions using Equatio or GMath. And the same is the case with science expressions, which is always very, very helpful. how to add reading passages, which are longer, and extended response questions. They cannot be auto-graded, so we'll be grading it by hands within the quiz features. And also how to set up a sequencing question. So you can use this for even storytelling. Um, the idea is very much that we use Google Forms to its potential, and we will be addressing few of these because of the time constraint. We'll be addressing some of these options in the next advanced session. Thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me at any of the email addresses below, and I look forward to collaborating with you. Thank you so much.